Hey guys, today we're going to be going back and revisiting the NECA Toys Friday 13th Part 2 Retro Cloth Jason Voorhees. Viewers to this channel, and especially Friday 13th fans, probably would already know that I've had a look at this figure before, but like the beginning of this review said, we're going to be going back and revisiting this figure as well. We don't get a lot of sack Jasons, and more importantly as well, we've been looking at recently a whole bunch of the retro cloth figures, having just recently recorded the review of Roy. So I thought it was perfect to go back and basically just look at the rest of the figures. So in the next couple of videos, you'll be seeing the other retro cloth Jasons. Some people have said, yay! Other people are like, more Jasons. Let's get some measurements going. Jason Voorhees, because he is basically utilizing the exact same body as the other Jasons, stands at 8 inches tall. Now that may vary a little bit because you'll see he's a little bit taller. He does definitely have also the sack to factor in for the height adjustment. And of course he also has the additional hair, which may throw his height off. So if you kind of really look at his sack and you look at basically where his head stops, it's actually a little over 8 inches tall. Let's have a look at Jason here, from part 2. This is kind of like the hee-haw Jason, sporting a pair of overalls, a plaid shirt, and some rather stylish shoes. Fans of also the retro cloth figures will probably see a lot of the carryovers of molds. For example, the feet are a go-to for the Jason for retro cloth figures. This is the same shoes that we're going to see basically with every single release of Jason, right down to Part 5's Roy, has basically used the same shoes. Same hands also, one closed fist, one open grasping, I want to strangle you hand. It's also been made use and basically seen constant revisits, as this is the go-to hands for retro cloth Jasons. All in all, he's a decent looking figure. Of course, you've got the little tie up at the back, which I loosened a bit at the beginning or near the end of the last time I had a look at this figure. So it's a little loose. I was going to tie it into a more tighter knot, but I also wanted to make sure that I could completely take the sack off without any problems whatsoever. The figure itself looks quite good. If you are fans of retro cloth figures, some people prefer to stick to the plastic. I myself included prefer more the 7-inch Ultimate figures to these. But having a look at some of the figures recently, especially at Part 6's Jason, I actually think that Jason looks a little bit better, in all honesty, than the plastic release of him. Now, unfortunately, I can't compare this guy to, say, for example, the original Cult Classics Jason, because unfortunately I don't have that one anymore from Part 2. I sold it, and I kick myself to it about it all the time nowadays. Like, why did I sell that? I basically sold a whole bunch of my Jasons, including the Mezco Cinema Fear ones. Again, I kick myself that I ended up selling those. I really should have held on to them. But again, the prices as they are now are the reminder to me, make smarter choices in life. So let's have a look at his overalls. Now they are snapped, or they have the little closure here, which you could technically take off. Not sure why you would want to, but the option is there. It does also have a pocket, which is accessible. It's not much of a clearance though, so you're not really going to be able to put much in there. And he also has a pair of pockets featured on the back. So nice stitch work there, also done to the faux denim, which looks very good actually. And some seam work down the side there, or down the bottom cuff area of his shoes. The sack, you kind of have to keep adjusting, or if you made it a little bit tighter, you would be able to see there is Jason's eye peeking through to you right there. And yeah, you can see it. Yeah, it's right there. The hole should have been maybe a little bit bigger due to the scale of the sack, but then, well, again, you don't want it overly big either. Don't worry, we will do a head reveal in a second, but some nice detailing there on the sack. They've just basically dirtied it up a little bit, added some extra wash and stuff to the back of it, so it just looks like it's a little bit older. It doesn't look like Jason just... I don't know where you would get sacks from, but it's not like Jason would just go to the sack store and buy himself a brand new sack. This looked like something that would have seen some considerable age and probably use. The original threading is still there. This isn't, I haven't replaced this threading with new threading. Good thing too, because I don't have any of brown threads. So There's the threading right there. Before we do the head reveal, and those not new to this channel already know what he looks like, but let's go through his accessories. He does come with a machete. There's a few little dots around there, and I mean, it doesn't really have no rhyme, no reason. It's like a dirtied up machete. There's the handle there with a couple of the rivets painted in, and some portion on the back painted in silver as well. He, of course, can hold it, but I do find all the accessories, well, at least the machete has a little bit of a thicker handle, so it stays a little bit better. But the pickaxe, as well as the pitchfork, seem to sit a little looser on Jason. Speaking of, segueing ourselves then, he does come with the pitchfork. Preferred weapon, I would say, for me, at least for displaying this guy. If I was to display this guy, which I really should, the pickaxe would be my personal go-to. I don't know why, I just think pickaxe for Jason in part 2. Some nice silver paint on the top there and the actual spike portions, and the actual handle is painted a nice dark brown. As mentioned though, it sits, but it sits loose. The further up doesn't really remedy the problem at all. It just sits really loose in his hand. Also sitting loose in his hand, he does come with a pitchfork, which has almost the same, slight darker color. It looks like it's almost the same, but it looks like it's a little bit darker than the pickaxe handle. And the top of it almost doesn't read as much the different color than the rest of the handle. In fact, the whole thing kind of looks like it's the same brown. And again, you can hold it, but like this one's a little harder because you have to kind of pry the hand in the, you know, or kind of force it through. Because it's such a thin plastic, I would worry about breaking it. But there's options there as well if you want to display them with the pitchfork. Okay, so we'll just put that to the side. And of course the head reveal. I think in the initial review I untied everything, but I mean, you guys have mentioned as well, you simply just, I mean, there's really not a lot holding it together, and because his hair goes as far down as it does, you kind of have to tie it underneath there, which doesn't really give the most secure fit up at the top though. So the hair kind of keeps everything loose enough that you simply just pull off the sack. And there's Jason in all his glory. I have to admit, of the jump scares, or the little, you know, the little twists, those little things at the end, the thing that reels in the audience and leaves them happy with the ending of a movie, this probably would be the more jumpier moments for me, was part 2's reveal of Jason crashing through the glass, grabbing the girl. Really wasn't expecting it the first time I watched it, and every single time I watch Friday the 13th Part 2, which is one of my personal favorites of the franchise, I still, to this day, jump. I jump not so much for the first, I jump moderately for the third, but I think I jump the most for the second one. Now, aspects to Jason are carried over, or I should say, aspects of the baby Jason are carried to here, and then of course all the subsequent sequels would have the same kind of characteristics. You have the slightly lopsided eye, of course the more human side eye here, which is peering through the eye hole of the sack, slight beard on this particular Jason too, and a completely deformed side of his face, whereas this side still actually has an ear, this side completely just a mangled mess. The long hair certainly adds to him as well. It's one of the few times where Jason actually has had real substantially long hair, and it's a nice change. I certainly would not appreciate this if he was wearing, like, for example, a hockey mask and he had the really long hair behind it. It would look a little ridiculous. The bald certainly incorporates better to the mask, but I think the long hair is a nice treat when you, of course, have him crashing through the glass at the, of course, the unsuspecting victims inside. Let's run through his poseability. His head does rotate and hinge up and down. Basically, because he is using the exact same mold as the other retrocloth Jasons, there's nothing really different between him and the other ones that we looked at, but we'll run through the poseability together anyways. The arms hinge outward, a forward and back motion. He does have a hinge in the elbow, a rotation and hinge in the hand. He's got the swivel in the waist. Got that, yes, check. Forward and back motion on the legs, yep, check that. Swivel on the top cut of the thigh, a hinge on your knee, and finally a hinge. I was going to go like this, but these actually don't swivel. Just a hinge back and forth to go on your feet. And there you, my friends, have the Retro Cloth Part 2 Jason Voorhees. As I mentioned with the Part 5 Roy Jason, I hope somewhere, some divine intervention, the universe just says, you know what, this is for you. It's the least we can do. NECA had some part in this as well, but it's the least we can do as the universe. I hope that we do eventually get ourselves an ultimate Part 2 Jason. In the same vein as the Part 3, the Part 4, the Part 6, I hope we do get us still a Part 5, and I hope go back and give us, and NECA still gives us ultimate versions of Pamela, because we really only have had that one release of Pamela that actually came with Sack Jason, and then Jason came on his own, but again, very limited on poseability and whatnot. But love to get a ultimate version of Pamela, perhaps with an ultimate version of little young Jason. I'm going like this as the indication of young Jason, and I know there was the Retro Cloth, which I never picked up, but ultimate versions of them, ultimate version of Sack Jason with the interchangeable heads. You can see where I'm going with this right now. And a Part 5 Roy. Of course, you can give us the other ones as well after that. But Part 5 Roy, Part 2 Jason are on my wish list for, I really hope NECA eventually does release these. In the meantime, I can just bask in the splendor that is the Retro Cloth Part 2 Jason, as he is a really nice outing for a Retro Cloth Jason. The Retro Cloths also give us the options of getting figures that we wouldn't normally get, because really from NECA's standpoint, the body doesn't have to be retooled. They're simply just changing the outfit and the head that's going to be on the figure's body. So it's much more easier and cost effective for them to release figures like this, because they're really not spending a whole lot on retooling a brand new mold. Today, though, we were checking out and revisiting, as this is the second time around we're doing this. This was the Retro Cloth Part 2 Jason Voorhees from NECA Toys. If you guys like this video, certainly hit it with a like down below. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, hit that little subscribe button, and you won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. And actually, speaking of future videos, if you guys are somewhere in the dark, this guy's got new videos going up. I never see them. Yeah, that's new. That's YouTube for you. They changed the notifications, so sometimes when I post new videos, sometimes you guys don't get really a chance to see them. So hit that little bell down below and turn on your notifications so you'll always know when new videos are hitting the YouTube channel. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.